Next, though, a national academy to tackle modern slavery is being set up at the University of Derby. It'll train workers and managers in the food and farming industries. The details were unveiled at a conference in the city which heard that thousands of people are being trafficked for forced labour. Well, our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball can tell us more. Jeremy, you were at the conference, so what else was said?
Well, very few prosecutions so far, but we heard today that across the country there could be up to 13,000 victims of modern slavery. And today was all about finding solutions, really. The first speaker, the government minister in charge of tackling this problem, and she talked about people she's met. The chef who spent 7 years sleeping on the floor of a curry house, an African woman who was trafficked for sex and didn't see daylight for 6 years, and a British addict who was locked up and forced to work for a criminal gang.
You cannot, as a human being, remove yourself from the horror of finding out about what one person has been prepared to do to another and the way that they've treated them, and the complete frustration that actually that poor victim has had maybe 25 years of being abused and nobody spotted the problem.
Obviously, these are horrific stories, but does slavery actually touch most of our lives?
Well, the authorities think there could be some obvious signs that a lot of us are missing. A neighbouring house, for instance, that's crammed with new tenants. Somebody you meet through work who works for an agency. They're particularly worried about the food and the farming industries, where they say criminal gangs are now getting into the supply chain, providing workers who don't get paid and then end up in a spiral of debt.
Already there's a vulnerable victim. That victim then might get forced to shoplift, might get forced to steal, or might get forced to do something else, be involved in a sham marriage. And what we're all trying to make sure is that those already vulnerable victims don't get doubly punished by ending up being criminalised.
So how is the industry dealing with it?
Well, today we heard more about that new academy to tackle modern slavery. It's going to be run by the University of Derby and the Nottingham-based Gangmasters Licensing Authority. It'll train workers and bosses in the food industry, really to spot the signs of human trafficking. But the Bishop of Derby told me that the rest of us need to report our suspicions too.
I'm very concerned because we all think slavery was abolished 200 years ago or it happened somewhere else. It's in the city of Derby, it's in some of our market towns. There was a case in Grantham of 8 or 10 men living in a garden shed. Now I think we'd say, what on earth is going on? Those people are probably exploited. We should at least ask a question.
There's a new law coming in to tackle this as well, called the Modern Slavery Act, and that could mean a life sentence for criminals who keep people as slaves.
OK, Jeremy Ball, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed.